Greetings again. This is Jose, your fellow Dungeon Master, speaking to you today about using other monster manuals based than the monster manual at times. I've noticed that in my Roll20 game, some of my players, well, most of my players have the Dungeon Master's Guide or, more importantly, the monster manual. I've already seen a couple of occasions where the individuals in my game are looking at the dungeon, quickly scanning through the books, looking at the monster manual, trying to figure things out, trying to see how to kill this monster. I guess it comes from the legacy of individuals playing video games and the cheat books that they make. This tip is basically for us veteran dungeon masters to keep to ourselves, but I'll share it with the new ones as well. If you want to trip up your players, use the Dungeon Master's Guides as is. Change up a monster every now and then. That's okay too. The real secret is using other sources of compatible monsters to totally take your players through the loop. About 2 months ago, I wanted to change up the monsters that my group was facing in my daytime game. So I introduced them to this book, 5th edition Foes. Let me read you on the back what it says. 5th edition Foes is a first step into supporting the 5th edition of everyone's favorite role-playing game. Some of the monsters in this book should be familiar to anyone who enjoyed the Tome of Horrors supplements published by Necromancer Game during the 3rd edition era. However, many of these monsters harken back to the time of 1st edition, as well as creatures you have never seen before. Sit back, read and enjoy, then unleash these foes upon your unsuspecting players. It's a little bit different than the monster manual in that it's old school with black and white on the inside and pictures and the like. But there are things in here that'll torment players that don't have the book. Most recently, I received another book, much thicker than any other book I've had in a long time. Reminds me of the core rulebook for Pathfinder, but this is just monsters and only monsters with over, I think, 413 total monsters in here. A lot of demons, a lot of fae, some clockwork, a very interesting amount of monsters made by Kobold Press. It's called the Tome of Beasts. This monstrosity-filled book has truly fantastic art and a full description on a page of the monster and how to use them, what he can do, what he can't do. It's an amazing book, and I've already taken a few of those for also to throw into my daily game, and I might use them in my Roll20 game as well. By using other books, other sources, other than the monster manual, you get a lot of, you can add a lot more flavor, a lot more suspense, surprise, and difficulty to the players. Most recently, in my daytime game, what is it called again? Oh, anyway, you guys know it. I post about it all the time. The Pharaoh's Curse. I was challenged by one of the other players, or the DM, because since there was so few players involved, I dumbed down some of the encounters and took away some of the monsters, like you should do when you're running an Adventures League game, because those are extremely high-powered situations and extremely challenging. Well, he wanted to face the challenge. Okay, fine. I put it in at full power. What do you know? Killed off one player. All the other players were taken down to less than 1 hit die. When I say by hit dice, if you're playing a barbarian, let's say, a hit die is a 1d12. So 1d12 away from being dead. Okay, for that guy. For the rogue, 1d8. For the monk, I think a d8. For the wizard, a d6. That's taking them down to a breath of just tiny bit more. And dead. Another player noticed that I was being generous to them, and I was shaving off damage so I wouldn't kill the entire party. Something I could have very easily done because of the other dungeon master deciding he wanted a challenge. I gave him one. I almost killed off one of his characters. And I have a surprise. I'll be using this book shortly. Both of them, actually, to add a little more spice to that game. You can buy the books on Amazon. The Tome of Beasts is running for like $44. It just recently came out. It was on a Kickstarter. You could have gotten it on a Kickstarter as well. And take a look at Kickstarter. They have some very interesting ideas coming out, and books, other publications. And also take a look at my links to the other YouTubers that I subscribe to. They have a lot of ideas for many of you. Geek and Sundry runs a Dungeon Master Tips by Matt Mercer, one of the better Dungeon Masters on the planet. I only wish I could do as many voices as he could, because that way I would be able to bring a lot more life to the dungeons that I run. That's all I really have for you today. Just remember, mix things up. You never know what you can do. I have semi-created something for a Seaborn adventure that I want to see how they handle. Think Rust Monster and Zombie combination, like I faced when I played in a game on Nerdarchy, that you can find that version of the game on my YouTube channel is one of my favorites. You see a wild-haired guy looking like on there. That's the one. Give it a look-see. I played that online with those guys. I was very privileged to have the opportunity to play with the Nerdarchy group. Ted ran a fantastic game, and yeah, what an interesting monster when you hit it with your sword and your sword starts to rust. Yep, that was interesting. Anyway, hope you guys have a good day and a great weekend. Flame on! And we are done with this presentation.